I'm Ron Hardin. I am the Vice President of Technology for Davidson Hotels and Resorts, based here in Atlanta. Davidson is an independent hotel management firm. We manage primarily branded full-service properties across the country. We also manage some independent lifestyle luxury properties with our new Pivot division. We are, depending on whether you're looking at gross portfolio revenue or number of rooms or number of hotels, we're somewhere between the 10th and the 6th largest independent hotel management company in the country. We've been in business for about 35 years, and we've been in Atlanta for 3 years. Originally, the company was based in Memphis. We currently have 37 hotels. The biggest challenge I see in the industry from a technology standpoint is juggling the competing priorities of within technology, and those competing priorities are what the hotel owner wants, what the hotel guest wants, and in our world, what our brand partner wants, because we have to satisfy to a certain extent all three of those people, and sometimes their priorities don't align, but we still have to do it, so that's whether it's providing a robust guest entertainment and internet connectivity experience in the hotel, or whether it's protecting the private information of our customers, or whether it is returning a good income stream and return on investment to our owners, at the same time protecting them from liability and bad press.
What he said. No. Mike Dickersbach, CTO of Highgate Hotels. We are a company that manages independent flag properties across the United States and Europe. We have just shy of 60 properties today. We have our largest concentration in New York City, where we're the largest manager, managing over 10,000 keys in New York City. To parlay what Ron said, for us as a manager, we deal with the exact same thing, where we have to balance between owner, manager, brand, Trevor Warner. Is he in the room? But it's when I look at our independent platform, we have to, we're the brand at that point. We have to maintain the security of our platform. We have to maintain the integrity of the platform. It's easy for me to sit here and say security is probably still our number one focus and challenge. Easy to say, more difficult to get consistent across the board and keep the employees from being trigger happy on mouse clicks and everything else. It really is a balance, and it's how you maintain that balance is really the challenge. So it's when vendors approach me, I don't always have it right. I can't say, oh yeah, we're going to do that, great, because if I'm looking at my flagged hotels, it's a flagged hotel. We can't do that there, or we might not be able to do that there. So it really is the balance of everything as the major challenge.
Okay, now everybody's looking forward, Mark, to your updates.
So I'm
Don't hold back, I promise.
I'm Mark McBeth. I'm the Vice President of IT, and as of yesterday, I work for the largest hotel company in the world. 6,000, I think, plus hotels, 100 plus countries. No, really, it's been a roller coaster ride. Some people have called it a ping pong game. But it did essentially, that game ended, and we're back, as I said to my team, the train is back on the rails. It's full steam ahead towards a probably mid-June or mid-year, we'll call it still, closure of this deal. So yeah, and actually I have been to Bethesda. So I was that was my early April Fool's joke yesterday. But yeah, it's it'll be an interesting couple of months here for sure, for me and for everybody else, including these gentlemen. Biggest challenge, I won't say it's going to be the integration of the two companies. I think what both of them said, I will echo. Plus, just the fact that we are Starwood over the course of the last half dozen years has become very franchise focused. So we deal with these gentlemen more than we ever have, and we value their input. We try to engage with them often in collaboration on all kinds of topics, and we will more than likely continue that with what's going to be coming in a few months. But yeah, so franchise is a big challenge for us, making sure that the 480 plus franchise hotels in Starwood, and I don't know what the number is with Marriott, but that 480 plus hotels, North America franchise, are doing what we need them to do to meet our goals. Our goals of the top line, the bottom line, the guest experience index, and all the things that come with the hotel experience at our 10 brands. So, and I could talk about security on and on and on and on, but we already heard about that this morning.
Okay. Now we have a room full of vendors, and let me start off by just asking an obvious question. You're the people they sell to. How would somebody get in to either of you three, all you three, to show what they were doing? What would you recommend to the audience, how people should get in trying to sell their products to you?
Well, Ron likes vodka, is that right?
Tito's. We are fairly conservative, so I think most of our new supplier and provider leads come through personal relationships within the industry. We hear about people that are already doing things. They're doing good things. They're getting a good reputation. They're doing good work. We sometimes talk to people who are doing something new, something on a cutting edge, and are looking to maybe partner with somebody to embark on some new venture. And generally the response is, cool story, bro. But we're probably not your partner until you've got a track record and some results and some references. And so it's a lot of word of mouth and networking for us. And don't call me.
Yeah. So along similar lines, don't call me, don't email me. I'm actually being truthful because I get so many calls and so many emails, cold calls and cold emails. They immediately delete. They don't do anything for me. Open forums where I'm actually walking, something like high tech, or where I'm walking around, or an introduction, or something along those lines is going to be the number one way to approach me. The Highgate and my former gig too, we had an investment arm that focused on technology and up-and-coming companies. So at Highgate, we utilize that arm as well to look at things that we may need or want to do and kind of be ahead of the curve of the industry. So that's also one way that we look at things. I'm not directly involved with that arm, but they do reach out when it pertains to us as a larger company. But that's basically it. Sending me unsolicited emails, it doesn't do anything.
And a quick go back for me is give me a single point of contact. I am actively battling with several major vendors in our industry who think that their ideas of how to organize a sales force across the world is way more important than my desire to have a single point of contact. So I do not want to deal with 15 different people at the same company just because they have one person assigned to this brand and one person assigned to this brand and one person assigned to this brand. Oh, but if it's an independent hotel, we have regional people and you have to deal with these regional people, but then if it's this product, no, it's a different regional. No. Not going to do that.
You know, and
Not saying any names.
yeah, right. Okay, for me, I think, and again, just looking at it through Starwood's lens, and even if you took my position, and put it into another brand or a smaller independent or whatever, know something about my company. I mean, know something about, for Starwood, know something about our company. Know that we're a public company. You can find out all kinds of things. You can listen to our earnings call to find out what's important. You can read the 10Qs and the documents that are online. You can find out about the company before you contact me, because so many of the contacts, whether they're cold calls or they're people that I actually know, they're not understanding what's important to Starwood and and that stuff is publicly available for the most part. So learn something about the company, learn something about me, and also come to the table with, what does your solution, what problem does it solve? What are you trying to solve with your product? And is that important to me?
See, I always find the relationship between the brand and the management company kind of unique. And Ron, do you follow whatever the brand dictates as far as technology, or would you ever divert from try something different or whatever?
Do you want the official answer or the honest answer? No, it is a spectrum, and it is largely up to the hotel owner, because they are the franchisee. We are the manager. We work for the hotel owner. We are approved by the brand as an authorized operator, but we're not necessarily. And so in that respect, we're a party to the franchise agreement, but we're not the franchisee. So we're more there to facilitate and advise the owner when it comes to brand standards, and ultimately the owner makes the decision of yes, I'm going to comply with this brand standard, or no, I'm going to push back. And most brands have a waiver process, and they also have their standards ranked as to how important they are. And if it's what they call a core standard, then you really don't have an option. But if it's not quite as important, then maybe you can get a waiver. So there's a lot of gray area. But all other things being equal, we value our relationships with the brands as much as we value our relationship with the owners. So we try to put a good faith effort into complying with brand standards.
That's a huge point, though, because there are owners out there that are very, very, very involved in the operations of these hotels to some degree. I don't know so much on their part, but I know we have owners in some of our managed properties that are there every day looking at numbers and putting their nose in all kinds of things, and they come to the table with ideas, and I would imagine they have some of the same owners that come to the table and say, we want to do this, and they're like, whoa, it's not a Marriott or a Starwood standard or a Hilton standard or whatever, and then therein it lies the tug of war, and it's a challenge.
And the follow-on is really for this group is to understand kind of how our industry works. A hotel company is not an insurance company. A hotel management company is different than a hotel brand company. A hotel owner is different than a hotel operator. I mean, so and we may have 37 hotels, but we're not a monolithic organization. I can't say, sure, I'll buy that and put it in all 37 hotels, because every hotel is an independent business unit. It has a different owner, has a different budget, has a different situation. So it doesn't work that way.
Right, and I would add, putting my owner hat on for my previous life, we absolutely would do things the brands didn't want us to do. It was part of our game plan. It's we felt we were smarter than the brands, and frankly, depending on the asset, we were, and it did make sense. I could list some very interesting and funny stories, which I won't call anybody out right now, where the brand wanted to do one thing, we pushed back, didn't do it, did our own thing, and the brand solution fell apart a year later. Where and that happens a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, as an owner, it goes into the model ahead of time, and everything gets weighed out in advance. But as far as vendor contact, just like Ron said, we can't just across all of our portfolios, because we're not a brand. We can't just go through and do something. On my independent platform, it's a slightly different story. We can look at it and see if it makes sense. But again, don't come to me in January, February and want to do something that year and think that it's going to be budgeted, because that's also unrealistic.
Okay, you set me up well for this next question. There's a lot of people in the room that have new things, and there's a lot of technology that's coming out from nowhere, and it's amazing. Some of it's really. What would inspire any of you to say this is worth looking at, even though it's not proven, it's not anywhere, it's just something you think is like the next generation that maybe would make your guests happier or your operation better? What would inspire you?
So for me, it's again, going back to what I said, knowing what Starwood's all about, knowing what we're focused on, and then coming. I think right now, mobile's a big deal, but for us, it's really the guest experience. Is how are you going to impact the guest experience? Is there a revenue component? Now, quite frankly, most of this stuff does not, have a revenue component to it. They'll say, oh yeah, it's going to increase revenue. We're going to put this tablet in the room and everybody's going to order room service. BS, not going to happen. But if there's something that is going to benefit the guest experience, because as a brand, we have 10 brands, soon 30. So as an owner of these brands, we have these lifestyle things that the W delivers. So how are you going to enhance that experience? Because at the end of the day, SPG is important. We want to drive more customers to our SPG program, and we want to drive the guest experience higher. The GM of this hotel and the GM of all our hotels get measured on that. So if you can bring something like that really shows an improvement in the guest experience, then I'm all in.
Yeah, and along the same lines, and I think what you had said earlier is, what's it going to do for me? Is it going to solve a problem? We would want essentially the same thing. Come and show me what it does, how it can impact me in a positive way, or the guest in a positive way. Don't come to me with some convoluted ROI model that's 14 pages long and goes through 4 or 5 years, and because it usually doesn't work anyway. I've seen plenty of those. But it has to solve a problem, and it can't be overly complex, quite honestly.
What they said. Solving the problem is what excites me. If that problem could be how to have 120 HD TV channels, but cut my cost for that programming in half, or how to have a robust internet experience for my customers, or how to have a functional voice communication thing in the room that doesn't cost me $100,000 to install. An intercom system for room service and 911 calls shouldn't cost $100,000. There's got to be a better solution. So, or $5,000 a month. Take your pick. But so.
So I'm not sure I agree with you with the fact that it should solve a problem, because a lot of things, there's a lot of problems you have you don't realize you have until some of these guys come up and say, have you ever thought of doing this? And it's an eye-opener, but that's just my version of this whole thing. By the way, if anybody has any questions from the audience, Louis? Can we take what you okay? We take questions
sure.
from the audience?
Not from Darren, though.
Not from Darren.
All right, let Louis go first.
I think
Don't make them leave, okay?
a follow-on question to what you just asked, Rich, would be that's kind of approaching it from an ad hoc perspective or kind of situationally. Is there a process? And I think the question would be directed mostly at Mark, but what's the process for innovation within the organization? Is there a percentage of effort that you try and earmark for saying, hey, I want to look for what's new out there. I want to define the problems that I could find and find solutions, and then go to market to find solutions or build something or do something.
That's a good question, and I will be blunt. We don't. At Starwood, we don't have a good process in place, and we struggle with that because our GMs, for example, and our IT managers want to bring things to corporate and we don't have a good process for that. Now, we did run a thing a year ago that we called innovation games, where we had teams from the field and from corporate get together and come up with their skunkworks idea and present that to the corporate IT team, to the CIO and her direct reports. And it was pretty cool. We had a lot of really good entries, and actually a team from Southern California, from the property IT management team in Southern California, won one of the top 3, and so we're now working on their idea, which was something like the elevator bay in the lobby, where you can insert your key. It'll essentially read your key and check you out. And so it has more. There's more to it than that, but that's essentially what it was. It reads your key, it deposits it, in the box, and then checks you out. And again, does a lot of magic in the background about your stay and that kind of thing. So that was one thing, but as a rule, we don't have like some place where you all can go, maybe a portal or something where you all can go and submit things. No, we don't have that. Good idea though.
So
So I hear a little bit of conflict here. Let's just call let's call it innovation for a moment. So is innovation driven from the property level management up to the brand, or the brand down to the property? Because I heard 2 answers, and I heard Mark's answer, and they weren't quite all in sync here.
neither.
Real quick, in Starwood, the people the smartest guys in the room back in Stanford want to be the ones that innovate and drive things to the properties. At the same time, you've got properties out there that have unique problems that they want to address. And if some of you get your foot in the door, the next thing we know, some GM has signed a contract, and there's a tablet in the room.
We see innovation coming more from the consumer world, which means, so basically our hotel guests, and surprisingly enough, from some hotel owners. Frankly, there are some hotel owners that are more forward-thinking than others, since at the end of the day they're the ones financing the innovation, some of the forward-thinking hotel owners tend to be the source of some of that innovation. But the devil's in the details. One of the most innovative things I think a lot of us are doing these days is putting mobile devices in the hands of our associates and enabling more and more mobile apps to do things, whether it is deal with guest service issues or communications or whatever. It's a great idea, but we're really having challenges getting that pervasive wireless network in the building so it works, getting the devices that work and are reliable, having mobile device management so people aren't doing all sorts of things with these devices. So the devil is in the details even when you're being innovative.
You validated the vendor's position. I'm in sales. I think everybody has always said a solution-based, where we come in and solve a problem for you. How do you determine when you're going to let us know what problems you're interested in solving? Because we think we know what problems you might be interested in solving, but they may not be the same ones you're trying to solve. So there's a disconnect there. And is, for example, it realistic to assume that a problem may be suddenly, we need luggage scanners and ability to check anything that comes into this hotel so there's not a bomb, and I don't care about making a room key on a cell phone anymore? Like, when do you let us know that all the things we think are your problems or that you're trying to innovate with have just gone to the left because you're not focused on it anymore?
At high tech.
I would, sorry, I'll let Mark speak as the brand, but I would answer that with, it'd be great if there was a forum where everybody just said, all right, these are the problems we're trying to solve. But the brands aren't going to do that because the problems they're trying to solve might be proprietary to the brand and might be one of their key marketing advantages. I can tell you that, from a manager perspective, we probably see everything across the board because we deal with almost all the brands. So we certainly know the pain points from one brand to another. But it's difficult to just, actually one thing we can probably all agree on is Oracle. But other than that, I mean, solving guest problems is going to be indicative to the brand, because Mark knows what his customers want or what might not be happening, and Marriott knows what their customers want and might not be happening. And from a management perspective, us from an independent side and also seeing across the brands, we get a little bit of everything.
And just to add to that, in our world, again, we have a chief technology officer that's driving most of the development in our within Starwood and most of the innovation. And it was a struggle to get him to come to high tech until maybe 3-4 years ago. I think his first high tech was not the last one in Austin, but 2 years prior to that, I think, or 3 years prior. But we need to get those people, him and his team, more into this environment where they can talk to you all. And I'll be honest, it's been a struggle for me to do it, for me, my team, for others. I report to Carson Booth, and yeah, we need to get those folks that are actually the ones within our company that are doing the innovation. We need to get them out in the industry more, get them in front of you, get them in front at high tech, HT&G. I thought the innovation awards process at HT&G is passed, a month ago. I was involved with the judge, and I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. Incomplete.
Good way to blow a speaker.
So, Mark, I'm just curious to see where your CTO and the team is around, how they feel around build versus buy. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's, I think with us, again, talking, I think Mike mentioned it, the whole competitive advantage thing, if we want to have competitive advantage over our competition out there, and that's going to change, but anyway, we keep things close to the vest, and we have a tendency to build versus buy, especially when it comes to our most important customer, which is the SPG guest. I would assume most of you are SPG guests, right? SPG customers. So the focus, there's such a great deal of focus on that customer because of the revenue that customer drives in our business. So a lot of the development that's going on, around mobile and around just customer interaction is focused on that guest. And so the SPG app, people come, you all have mobile apps that you come to us with, and we're like, unless it can plug into, or unless we can integrate the SPG app with your app and show some value, and we're not interested. That's the position I think we take to some degree too often.
So speaking of SPG, when once a year I get together with a friend of mine at IHG, and I asked him how they not just look at the technology they're using today, but what they're going to look at down the road. And they have their priority, whatever it is, their frequent.
See, you can't even name it. See?
And he says they look at their top tier of frequent guests, and they survey them and ask them not just what they aren't, not just what they're doing today, but what they plan, what they would like IHG to do down the road. And I thought it was pretty intriguing, some of the things. Now, a year ago, it was all about mobile. I mean, they have a lot of queries. But do you guys have a good feel, brand or not, or what your guests really want, not just what you think is next, but what your guests are telling you that you should be doing?
Free, fast internet.
Yeah.
No, I'm not joking. I mean, and we still have the constant struggle with both our internal management team and with hotels, because there's certainly plenty of evidence that indicates that people are willing to pay for it, particularly if it's a quality product, but that doesn't mean that the customer's happy about it. And so then everybody gets their knickers in a twist about satisfaction scores, and why aren't our satisfaction scores for internet service higher, and why do we have to spend so much money to improve our service? And why don't you give it away free? Then that addresses a significant chunk of the guest satisfaction issue. That's what guests want.
I agree with that. But I would also say we're in a weird state where we're dealing with millennials all the way up, and everybody uses technology in a different fashion. And there isn't one single way that you can address your entire customer base that's going to appease everyone. Let's talk about door locks and using your phone to check in, or use it as a key, for example.
In this hotel.
My dad uses a flip phone. He travels. He uses a flip phone. He's that guy. And that base is always gonna be around. So the question is, can we get, and we will obviously eventually, but can we get to a mobile platform that's, or any kind of platform at that point, that's going to appease to everyone across the board today? I don't think that's today. So we're in a phase where we've got to address the up and comers, and you got to address the loyal base that's been there for years and years and years.
And if I could take my brand hat off for a while, put my consumer hat on, when I got here, I checked in, I did not use my phone. Did anybody? I know there were some problems with people using their phones.
Yes, I was worried about my battery running out of my phone, and then I wouldn't be able to.
That's a
get
good,
my phone.
that's a common problem.
Yeah, I think
But-
you had a problem last night.
Well, I'm not one to use my phone. I was telling one of the ladies on Rich's team that I have to have two hands to work the damn thing because I can't see it. And as I put my glasses on, I put my bags down, I put everything, and then I go too long. Just give me a key that I can just tap or insert. It's fine. But I think from a consumer perspective, the brands tend to get too cute. So there's a thing in the room here. I think Geneva was talking about. There's this little thing in the room next to the bed that has some dials and buttons on it and stuff. I guess it does like ambient noise or something. I just looked at it and picked it up looking for the USB port because I had no clue what the thing was, and I still it didn't have a USB port, so I just put it back down and ignored it for the rest of my stay. So I think we do stuff sometimes that we think is cool. But we haven't gone out there and vetted it with the consumer or the traveler or our SPG guests, for crying out loud. Do they really want that? Geneva, you thought it was cool. You loved it. I was like, where's the USB port? So.
And eventually we, kind of combining innovation with what guests really want. I mean, eventually we want something that we'll just call, for the sake of discussion, Hotspot 3.0, where they don't have to do anything. Whatever device they walk in with has robust connectivity while they're in our hotel without them having to do anything. So if that means a system that automatically provides on-demand Wi-Fi or cell signal, depending on what the device is, and it just works, and they can function and work and deal with whatever they're staying at that hotel to deal with, whether it's business or pleasure, without having to think about the logistics of getting online or doing something, then that's what we need. So there's innovation. Go figure it out.
This is a question probably for Mark. First of all, congratulations, because I think, in my humble opinion, Starwood's leading the way in keyless entry. But I'm interested in terms of the acceptance rate. There's been a lot written about it. You've got a lot of SPG members have signed up. We've obviously had some concerns here. Are you able to share with us, the take-up rate with your W and Aloft properties?
With the keyless, I wish I had that stuff off the top of my head, but we are seeing increase in the usage. But let's be honest, it's not probably as much as we would have liked it to be. I think there are still some problems with it. There was also, quite frankly, again, open. There was also some issues with fraud that we are struggling with right now. So it is, we're still hammering away at keyless, but we have to tackle those problems, the fraud issues, and just make it again, easy to use. Again, for someone like me that's got to fumble with their phone and put their thick glasses on, and it's a challenge. Maybe the millennials like it. My daughter is 31. She has a tendency to act more like me than a millennial, which is I don't get it, but you know that's just her. But I can get that information for you. I could get that from Brennan and find out what the take rate is.
The other quick follow-up, Ron and Mike, what do you guys think at the moment about keyless entry? Is it on your roadmap for your owners and as management companies, or are you allowing Starwood to be the pioneer and iron out all the bugs first?
So I'm going to take my Highgate hat off for a second. We've got brands that, you know, Hilton's on their quest. So we've got brands or branded hotels that are in the midst of doing various upgrades that are brand-related requirements. Here's my personal experience, because I actually have tried to use the keyless entry. I stay at a particular brand in Dallas once a month that offers keyless entry, and it's worked 0 amount of times. And when I go in and go to the front desk, they don't even acknowledge that I was trying to utilize the app. They just say, "Oh, hi, here's your key," and then also forget the fact that I am a rewards member once a month. But honestly, my personal opinion is that the keyless entry is going to become just like the 2-line phone or the kiosk that we had to pay for to put into all the hotels. Even with my American Airlines app, you know, I check in, I still go and print out the stupid thing because I don't want to try, you know, the screen flips when I'm trying to go through security or whatever. I just get, you know, here's the piece of paper, go. And it's, you know, battery dying, you know, my battery's always dying, 1,000,001 battery packs on me. So, I mean, those are legitimate concerns until it really, what Mark said, becomes, you know, here's done. Simple, stupid. That's just my own opinion.
We're doing it where the brand is funding it.
There you go.
Because we
Good answer.
Yeah, we'd be silly not to. But just like with the ubiquitous connectivity, you know, if you think about what the original concept, the first guy that thought about this idea, the concept was the lock detects the phone because the phone's already been activated with some kind of token on it, and you don't have to touch the phone to make this thing work. You simply walk up your door and your door unlocks. Well, nobody's done that yet. So if it was that easy, it might be a little different. But yeah, we're not yet paying for it anywhere, but we are putting it in where we're getting some subsidy from the brand.
Can you elaborate on that? When a brand funding it, when it would, when
Me?
Yeah, anybody.
Well, we did it because we were first, you know, theoretically, and we wanted to make a splash, and it was over a year ago when our CEO Fritz von Paschen was let go by the board, and that was really his thing. You know, he did a lot of things for Starwood in his roughly 7 years, but I remember the first week he was there in 2007, I think it was September 2007, he sat down at a table with myself and Brennan Gildersleeve, who I think most of you know, and a couple of the rest of our team, and he pulled out his BlackBerry. He found out we were IT guys. He pulled out his BlackBerry and said, "When can I check in on this?" So he was, from that day, you know, September of 2007, thinking about this. And so when it was time to launch, he was all in. He said, we've got the cash. We're going to spend X amount of dollars doing Aloft, W, and Element. So there we are. That's how it happened.
You good?
Hey, Mark, this question is for you. I just wanted to follow up on something that you said, which was that you were at HTNG and you like the tech ovation. I think that's what you were mentioning. And so I want to ask 2 questions. One, why did you like it? So that was my first question, and then I'll have a follow-up to that.
Well, you know, the format was great. You know, you don't have to sit there and listen to a 30-minute presentation and 60 slides or whatever it is. It was very quick and to the point. And I think, I don't know if there were 16 or 17 or whatever presentations that we listened to, but they were all very good. And there were some things, you sit there, I think you guys would agree, you sit there and you look at these products and innovations, and you're like, okay, yeah, I've heard that story before. But there were actually 3 that, and I think it wasn't my top, I had 2 of the top 3 on my little score sheet. But one of them, I literally sat there as he was talking, and I went, you know, and that, to me, that was the light going off in my head. That's new, that's impactful, you know, and then, you know, and that was the one that I think it was the rate shopping one where it pulls up all the rates from the OTAs. So that was the one that kind of, I went, wow, okay, that's very cool. And then the last one, the one that won, was again something that was very cool. My first thought on the water one, you know, did everybody see that one? The water. My first thought was, you're gonna assign an IP address to every freaking faucet and toilet in our hotel? You're crazy. And then the more he talked about it, the more I thought, that's impactful. That's really, really innovative. So that's, you know, to me, the robot, we did the robot, the Aloft robot. That's creepy. I'm sorry.
So my follow-up question to that would be, if there was a format in which, and then parenthetically, this is also addressed to you, Rich. If there was a format in which there was maybe a quarterly thing that you guys could attend, where vendors pitch for 5 minutes, and you could do it remotely, would you attend that?
Yeah, I probably would.
So we need to set that up, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd attend, definitely attend.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I would definitely attend.
All right, so yeah, I mean, and I think all that we would want is just a chance to just convey ourselves in 5 minutes. And I think that format, it was, you know, I pitched at that HTNG, and it was a challenge to do in 5 minutes, but I also, as like somebody watching it, I also enjoyed it too, because you could see a lot happening quickly, right? And I would imagine as somebody on your guys' side that it's just a really quick, you get to know what it is, and then
no, I would say that I would attend it, but I would almost pull my CTO kicking and screaming to that webinar or to that meeting or whatever. I definitely, you know, again, going back to what I said about we build stuff, you know, I need to get those people to pay attention to what's going on in this world, you know, so.
We're getting questions. Go.
I'd like to touch on something Ron was talking about with the internet experience, and I would completely agree with you. That's probably one of the driving forces behind the user experience and just being at a hotel and happy with your stay. I'd like to get your thoughts on PON technology, fiber to the room, get kind of where your heads are with it, what your thoughts are on it, being, you know, less points of failure, reliability, so forth.
Was the question specifically about passive optical?
Correct.
Jury's out. What I know about it is that it's expensive to install. I know from experience that fiber is expensive to maintain. It's reliable, but on those rare instances where it's unreliable, then it's expensive to fix. It requires more active electronics at the endpoint because it is a passive network. My crystal ball tells me that for the foreseeable future, there's plenty, you know, if you've got room, if you have physical room in your building to get traditional unshielded twisted pair cabling into that guest room, then that's the more reliable, less expensive solution. So,
I would add, I agree, and I would add that you know, you got to look at the end result here. When you go a route where it requires more active equipment, essentially more stuff that can break, and you look at how hotels are supported from an IT perspective, and combine that, roll that up into ongoing costs, it just doesn't, especially if you're trying to run mean and lean, you're just adding potentially more headache to an already overly complex model where ownership, you know, perfect example is owners, you know, depending on the state of the asset, they're going to let something sit and rot until the thing is sold, which is, that's the strategy. It was in my previous life, that was the strategy. It's the strategy going forward. That's just how it is. And we got to work in that. So it makes life, it'd be great. At the end of the day, it'd be great if it was, 100% staffed IT, all cylinders are hitting. But the reality is it makes life a lot more complicated and difficult.
I will just say that we have a hotel that's going to be opening in July, the Westin Buffalo. We have partner Guest Tech. Larry, where are you? I think he left, didn't he? Anyway, and Delaware North is the owner, and it's next to their headquarters. So we'll see how it works there, but again, it's going to get a lot of love and tender love and care because Delaware North is based in Buffalo, and they're going to have a team right next door to that hotel that can deal with the issues as they pop up. But we'll find out. I'm anxious to go to that hotel and find out how it's how
And
it
I would
works.
agree with Ron. I think, if it's not set up properly, it's not, the initial install is not done correctly with the fiber, provisioning the equipment, it can become a lot of headaches. But if it's set up correctly, it can be a pretty solid network that just doesn't go down.
Yeah.
We've got a hotel that we turned up almost a year ago. Not one service call for Wi-Fi, phones, internet, in almost a year. It just works.
Yeah.
And so, just understanding how the different, views and vantage points are on it is definitely helpful.
Yeah, well, and it all starts at the end of the day. If you build out the core infrastructure correctly, it doesn't even matter if it's fiber or twisted pair. You build it correctly from the beginning, your chances for success are very good.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, you talked about the role of the CIO. How's the role of the marketing organization evolved in evaluating technology over the last few years, and how's that impacted you, and has it impacted the vendor community?
Well, in Starwood historically, and I'll go back to the Fritz Van Paschen tenure, those 7 years, marketing was huge. They drove, to be honest with you, the majority of our innovation. And again, I go back to what I said, it was centered around the SPG guest, it was centered around distribution, but they drove a lot. In fact, it got to be a sticking point with some of the other groups within Starwood, that marketing was driving too much of the spend when it came to IT. Not a bad thing, but just, that's where we were now. We're in a different place now, obviously.
So you're saying that's changed now, and marketing doesn't have the push?
Well, a year ago, our focus changed, right? A year ago, when Fritz left and Adam Aaron, the interim, came on, and I think I heard he now runs AMC theaters. Anyway, it changed, and we went into this whole strategic alternatives thing about a year ago today, which was focused on who are we going to sell the company to. So yeah, prior to that, though, marketing was driving the bus.
Did Darren ever get his question?
Darren.
Because I was just kidding.
Quick, you guys really didn't talk too much about like credit cards or anything of that nature.
What are those?
Well, we saw in the retail divisions over the holidays how slow the transaction was, and we're hearing hotels are finally going to get on EMV, within the next, hopefully, so many months. Do you think we're just going to go over that, or are hotels actually going to install the devices and spend the money?
You checked in here? You checked in at this hotel?
Yeah.
So obviously, we've done it here with Lightspeed and our little Ingenico device, and I've now checked the last 3 hotels of ours that I've checked into have those devices identically, glued or screwed onto the front desk, and I don't find that it has impacted the check-in process at all. The only thing that I haven't been trained well enough to know when to pull the damn card out, So when I checked in, the thing was beeping at me and the guest service agent, we kind of looked at each other like, now what? Oh, yeah, I got to pull the card out. But it works. It works, and it'll evolve and it'll mature. And we Americans are kind of slow to figure this stuff out. But anybody have a problem with it, by the way? Because I love your feedback. I'm going to talk to Elevon next week.
There was an article in SC online magazine last week, or this week actually, that EMV is very quickly becoming accepted by consumers. I think even faster than was anticipated. So I don't think the consumer side is necessarily going to be the issue. I think we're all, I think on our end, a lot of us are surprised at how long it is taking all the providers. The brands, the brands. I think everybody on the solution side, whether it's the brand or the payment application vendor or the brand as payment application vendor or the middleware providers or the acquiring banks, I think all of them underestimated how long it would take to actually deliver a certified EMV payment solution.
Right.
So we're just hurry up and wait.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an article this week in the press about the impact of 5G in South Korea. For the Winter Olympics in 2018, all their infrastructure will be 5G. My question to the panel is, what do you know about 5G, and is it going to start impacting on large investments in Wi-Fi if 5G comes in the next 2 years to our industry?
It's one more than 4G.
I know. I'll have to read the Wikipedia page again. No, I to be perfectly honest, I haven't focused my attention on that yet. Too many other things going on right now, but it's an evolution. I look at it that way. It's an evolution, and the carriers will bring it to us, and we will buy devices, and hopefully the Hotspot 2.0 or Ron's Hotspot 3.0 will seamlessly connect to the 5G network. I mean, honestly, I will wait and see.
Yeah, I sat on a 5G presentation last year from Nokia, I believe. Sounds great. Bring it. Until it actually comes to fruition, it's hard to even put the hat on to see what's going to change and how.
But I would imagine it will bring, again, another one of those things where we will have to go out and educate owners on what impact, if any, it's going to have on their environment, what infrastructure changes might need to be made, that kind of thing. And that's, that was a challenge when, actually when every one of these sort of milestone pieces of technology, whether it's the iPhone, the iPad, or 4G, or small cell, or whatever, we have to go out and sell to the owners what they need to do, what they need to spend.
And I kind of expanding on that whole Hotspot 3.0 concept, and that's a meaningless term. I don't think there is such a thing, so don't go out and try to look it up. I just coined that. But and I'll charge you royalty. The hope is, we know we have to put wireless networks in our building, so there's going to be radios around the building attached by cables or even meshing with each other wirelessly, but there's going to be radios around the building, and the hope is that those radios will support all of the communication channels and spectrums that the end user device needs. The DAS world, if you want to call it that these days, is just god-awful. So you either have to work directly with the carriers to try to implement an extremely expensive solution, or you have to work with independents, and what you find out when you're working with the independents is that they're doing a very weird kind of delicate dance with the carriers, because what they're doing really skirts the edge of what's legal with FCC and all kinds of other stuff. So hopefully that will shake out and get better.
Sure.
From Europe, 20 years ago,
Oh, yeah.
I was there in France and the UK. I mean, we had to ship on those cars back then.
Yeah.
The card still goes out of sight. I've had my card cloned probably 4 times in the last 2.5 years, and it's always been traced back to a restaurant incident.
Yeah,
What can you do with your bench strength
So,
to make this happen?
transparency again. 5 days after the Marriott press release came out on November 16th, we announced that we had been breached at, 100 plus properties, 90 plus properties. So it became a huge deal for us, like instantly. And we pay at the table, which is something that you're familiar with. And it's something that when I travel to Canada, one of my favorite places to go is the Keg, right? Anybody been to the Keg in Canada? Pay at the table, That's, where we're headed, quite frankly. But like Ron said, it's been a very, very slow process to get there. And I mentioned I'm going to be speaking with Elevon. One of the topics that is on the agenda is, okay, and Oracle, when is pay at the table available for us on our Symphony platform and the Elevon platform? And, that's where we're going. We've talked to our food and beverage leaders about it. They've experienced it, whether in their travels to Europe or Canada or wherever. We have actually tried to implement it with standalone terminals, with non-integrated terminals. I'll be honest with you, the food and beverage folks are a challenge, The adoption is going to be a challenge. It's changing a process that they have been dealing with for decades. But that's where we're headed. Starwood is headed towards pay at the table. I'm sure Marriott's got their plans as well. We'll see how they mesh, but coming soon.
It could be a significant point of differentiation in your service.
Certification's the challenge.
Right.
And that's, we have to remember, EMV stands for Europay, MasterCard, Visa. It is a consortium of the card companies. And they created the rules for certifying a solution. So every solution, pay at the table, it involves a portable device, it involves a means of connecting back to a network, it involves integration with a payment application, it involves that payment application then being able to talk to a gateway provider, and the device being able to talk directly to the gateway provider, and the gateway provider being able to talk to an acquiring bank. That entire process, including every piece of hardware and software in that process, has to be certified. And that certification process takes months and months and months and months. So the reason this hasn't happened in the US yet is not because of the merchants or even the software providers, the payment application providers, because Micros has this product overseas. It's the certification rules.
Good point.
So just a quick question in that same vein of security. What are you seeing as far as interest in full P2P encryption for handling credit cards?
Huge.
Yeah.
It's the holy grail.
That's more important than EMV,
yeah.
really.
Oh yeah,
Right.
way more important. So
Tokenization.
one of the early questions about what excites you. So like 2 years ago, my light bulb was, oh my God, I can make my data breach risk virtually disappear simply by using a hardened tokenized device for payment acceptance that integrates with my payment applications and takes that credit card data totally off my systems and networks. But then we thought this will be cheap and easy to implement. Well, it's relatively cheap, in the big scheme of things, but it's not easy.
Hang around for a few minutes afterwards because we're going to have to wrap up on time because we have a bus from 11:15. Ron, how many brands do you manage?
Sorry.
Well, that wasn't a hard question, was it?
No, but it's families of brands. So Starwood is multiple brands, Marriott's multiple brands. So we'll talk about families of brands. We manage Starwood hotels, Marriott hotels, Hyatt hotels, and Hilton hotels. So.
Okay.
Oh, am I missing any?
That's fine. Out of the four, which one's your favorite?
Starwood, of course.
Mike, you want to add in on that one? Or,
You know, I have no comment. So
Okay.
hard to pick your favorite.
And Mark, if you were going away on vacation, you had to stay at a brand that wasn't yours, which one would you want to try?
If I had to stay in a brand that wasn't mine, which one would I try? That's a heck of a question. Probably.
Yeah, I like doing that.
Yeah, you know, given where I'm from and where I probably would go to, I'll say Fairmont.
You want to say why?
I'm San Francisco. I went to college in San Francisco. My wife's from San Francisco. I spent time at the Fairmont when I was in college, and yeah, it's a cool. The Banff Springs Hotel. How can you go wrong?
Right. Having you guys come here with a room full of vendors is very, very much appreciated. How about a big thank you for that?